Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I work in a bar. A few weeks ago, 3 staff worked the close shift, did not check the toilets, and somebody was locked in overnight. Those staff were called to a meeting and given their final warning. They all asked that someone become a manager to make sure all the stuff was checked. Red, have someone to throw under the bus every time they mess up. One girl, let's call her Amy, has always hated me and put me up for it. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm the boss's right-hand man anyway, so I don't mind. As I'm counting the till one night, it's down by a small amount, about 9 pounds. My boss says it's normal. It's an old till which sometimes adds on products and therefore leaves it down. Okay, when I'm on shift, it's down by 15 pounds on its head. And the next day I'm on shift, it's down by 21 pounds. My boss still says, meh, it's a bad till. Amy whispers to my boss she thinks I'm skirting money from the till. I get put under investigation. While I'm not at work, the till is only down by 2 to 3 pounds, which is normal. So I started looking through the CCTV files from home. Well, because as a manager, I can do that. What I found was that it was Amy skirting from the tills, but she doesn't take the money. The angle of the camera just shows the right-hand side of the till. So she thinks by shoving the money under the left side of the till, no one will see it. I believe she did this in case she was caught and could just put all the money back. I carried on watching and caught her giving drinks away for free. We've been having some issues with our CCTV data lately. It corrupts and won't work. And I find the problem. She has downloaded the app and is watching the CCTV. If it won't work, she knows someone is watching it and actually does some work. Which explains why we have been unable to open certain files. Because she had the app open which stopped the access working. She somehow found the password and has been watching the pop. And it came to light that the night of the sleeper, she had not set the alarm and also watched the person inside after hours on the CCTV. We believe it was a plot to try and rob the pub, but she didn't count on us having the CCTV checked and repaired by the company which showed the log access. She's fired, and I believe she's getting sued as she deserves. Edit to clarify. The night of the sleeper is the night someone was locked in. Me and my boss thought they must have been asleep and that's why they were locked in, but it seems to have been a plot to rob the pub. Sorry if that was not clear. I was so excited and nervous when my wife went into labor. I have been waiting for this day for months and all I could think about was getting her to the hospital as soon as possible. So when she told me it was time to go, I rushed to get our bags and the car keys. As I was about to leave, I saw Karen, my next-door neighbor, standing right in front of my car blocking my way. I couldn't believe it. She had this look of annoyance on her face, and I knew exactly what it was about. It was about some small issue she had been complaining about for weeks now. I went to her and said, Karen, please move your car. My wife is in labor and we need to get to the hospital. She replied, I know, but I need to talk to you about this issue. It's been driving me crazy and I need it to be resolved. I was getting increasingly frustrated. Karen, it can't wait. My wife is in labor. We need to go now. Please move your car. She crossed her arms and said, No, I am not moving my car until we talk about this. It's important to me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I begged her to understand the urgency of the situation, but she was not budging. I was getting increasingly anxious and worried about my wife and unborn child. Just then, my father and brother came running out of the house. They tried to reason with Karen and pleaded with her to move her car, but she refused. My brother, seeing the urgency of the situation, jumped into Karen's running car and moved it out of the way, clearing the path for me to take my wife to the hospital. I was so grateful for my brother's quick thinking and even more angry with Karen for her entitled attitude. My wife gave birth to a healthy baby, but the experience was marred by Karen's actions. But Karen was not done yet. After we left for the hospital, she called the cops on my brother and she accused him of trying to steal her car. But thanks to the cameras we had installed, the cops were able to see what had happened, and we were able to press charges against Karen for putting the life of a pregnant woman at risk. From that day on, we never saw Karen again. And we were just grateful that we had cameras installed that served my brother from any false accusations and also helped the authorities to hold Karen accountable for her actions. We were just happy that we had a healthy baby and we could move on from the nightmare that Karen had caused us. Disclaimer: I am not First Nations, I'm very Caucasian. This will make sense later on. So I work at a marina on a native reserve, the kind of marina that has a pump for boats and cars. And it's full service, meaning we go out and pump gas for the customers. We're in the same plaza as a restaurant, a tobacco shop, and a cannabis store, all on First Nations land and owned by the reserve. Super easygoing place, the management takes such good care of their employees. I couldn't ask for a better job. Yesterday, me and a co-worker were going back and forth from the lakeside pump to the roadside pump. We were packed since it was Saturday of the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend and everyone was going out on their boat or going to their cottage on the reserve one last time before winter. On busy weekends like these, we have a police officer on the plaza to make sure people do not do stupid stuff. Because of the virus, the reserve is only open to residents and people who own property on the reserve. People constantly try to sneak onto the reserve or park in the private marina parking lot. That's why the police officer is here to keep the idiot tourists at bay. We will call the cop the native cop. Our native cop is a super great guy. As someone who's not fond of the police myself, I can vouch that this guy is one of the good ones. So during a big rush of customers, the entitled Karen pulls up. So, quick backstory. According to my boss, Karen came to the pot shop every other day and would always complain about bad products or some bull crap like that. So when she pulls up, instead of telling me she's getting gas, she just walks away and I call back asking if she's getting gas and the conversation goes along the lines of, "Excuse me ma'am, sorry, are you getting gas?" "No." She continues to walk off. Meanwhile, there is a line of cars behind her. "I'm sorry, but if that's the case, you're going to have to move your car. We have other people waiting for gas." Karen continues to walk off towards the other side of the plaza. At this point, the cop sees what's going on and goes to talk to her. I see a wave of realization wash over his face as he stops her. Their conversation is out of earshot, but I heard something along the lines of, "How am I supposed to know? I know my rights from the entitled Karen." "Ma'am, you're banned from the premises." From the native cop. They move back to the car. Meanwhile, I'm trying to calm down the people in line who are all pissed off that this car is in the way. The cop tells her, "Ma'am, for the last time you're banned from the premises for 30 days. That was 9 days ago. You still have 3 weeks until you're allowed on First Nations land." "But I wasn't on Plaza property yet. I'm just at the gas shack. What right do you have to talk to me that way?" "Look, from that tree to that tree is also native land and thus Plaza property." He gestures to 2 trees on either side of the asphalt lot. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave now." "What? So now an Indian can arrest a white woman?" She scoffs and then says, "Right, man?" She gestures towards me. I'm obviously taken aback, so I say nothing. "Traitor." She then mumbles. She continues, "You don't understand how they treated me back there." The cop tells her, "For the last time, you've been banned from the entirety of the plaza. You can come back in 3 weeks, but you have to leave the premises immediately." "But you're not even a real cop. You don't have any authority over me. Get off your power trip, Indian." "I assure you, ma'am, that I'm a part of the reserve named police department, and if need be, I have full authority to arrest you as any other police officer would." "Oh yeah, sure buddy, I'm suing this plaza and I'm getting you all fired." And she gestures to me too, who up to this point was back inside with a guy paying for his boat gas and snacks. "That's fine, ma'am. But if you don't leave right now, I will have to arrest you. And if you come back within the next 3 weeks, you will also be arrested." Realizing he called her bluff, she huffs, sits back in her car and mumbles something like, "Freaking Redskins," and drives off. The next day, the day as I'm writing this, it's dead slow. I mean, I've been watching Netflix all shift, until I see my coworker walking over from the parking lot to start his shift. Behind him, I see Karen being put up against the car screaming as a cop cuffs her. It's just barely out of earshot, but I see the cop say what I'm assuming is a whole "you have the right to remain silent" and so on. As this is happening, I can hear Karen yelling, "What? So I'm getting arrested by an Indian cop? What a load of nonsense. I'm getting you fired. I'll sue everyone." And the cop pulls her over to the other side of the parking lot where I'm assuming the car was parked. It was far enough away that I couldn't see it behind the other cars, but could still hear the entitled Karen yelling obscenities. The cop filled me in on the details later, saying that she came back wanting to videotape the pot shop and all the health hazards, bad products, health and safety issues there. Mind you, the process to open a cannabis store is meticulous. They won't let you open if anything is short or perfect, from what I understand. This store hasn't even been open for a year. All the equipment and everything is brand new. So the cop gets wind of this and comes back to arrest her. As he restrains her, she starts dialing 911. I repeat, she calls the cops on the cops. Her justification: he's an Indian cop, not a real one. So the cop has to talk to the other police department and clear things up with them. Meanwhile, Karen is screaming in the background. They later released her and are extending the ban indefinitely. Me and my coworker are laughing hard, as this is gonna be a fun story to tell at Thanksgiving dinner. So I gotta start by saying I'm a nurse, and considering the difficult position and vulnerability most people in a hospital are living, I try to make my patient's life as easy as I can. This is maybe the only time I really felt I was being a mean nurse. I worked at an orthopedic service at the time, and the patient in question had surgery about 5 days ago for a hip replacement. So this one day I'm giving medication to patients, and this particular patient is in a corridor, and I hand him acetaminophen pills. Pain medication, not strong at all, but taste as bitter as they come. And you need to swallow them fast, or they dissolve in your mouth and the flavor is just the worst. He's in no pain. It was a preventive measure at the time. He takes the pills out of the wrapper and throws it on the floor right in front of me. Trash can by his side. I tell him, "Sir, you just threw garbage to the floor." "Yeah, so?" "Well, if you didn't want to put it in a trash can, you could have just given it to me, and I would do it." "Don't sweat it. The maid will get it." And he proceeds to put the pills in his mouth and rolls his wheelchair to his bedroom to get the water. I'm really angry at this point, so I'm not going to let her stay on the hospital floor, so I pick it up and count to 10. Meanwhile, he gets to his hospital table, which has his 1.5-liter water bottle on top. That particular table is not very stable, and it just happens that his wheelchair bumps into it before he can reach the bottle, and the bottle falls to the other side of the table. He can't pass the wheelchair to the other side of the table, and so he is at this point with the pills in his mouth with no way of getting his water. I realize it, and I'm in no hurry to help him. I enter the room to administer medication to another patient that's in his bed. 3 other patients in that bedroom. He says, "My water bottle fell to the ground," and me not letting him finish the sentence. "Oh, don't worry. The maid will pick it up and throw it out." And I then quickly proceed to the next patient. Same goes as I leave the room, and again as I enter again for the 3rd patient. The patient is by now fuming, his saliva melting the pills. That horrible taste in his mouth for a while. As I'm leaving for good, he tries again to say the full sentence, and this time I let him. It wasn't easy cause he had this paste of melting pills in his mouth. "Nurse, I let my water bottle fall. I need to take my pills." "I am so sorry. I thought you just wanted to throw something out again. I'm so sorry. Here you go." And I left, feeling justice had been made. Alright, so I'm sure most of us have been there, late teens, early 20s, and sowing those oats as a boomer scolded. A particularly fine-looking dance partner comes along and all of a sudden, you go from doing the waltz with half the town to looking like Tom when he sees a female cat in Tom and Jerry. This wildly attractive and intelligent person has you hook, line, and sinker, and you're smitten completely. You change paths and start talking about how you're gonna start spending weekends at Home Depot and DIY projects, and your home has furniture for the first time in your life since leaving the nest. Well, here is where this fabulous fairy tale takes a hard left turn right into oncoming traffic. The apple of our eye, you see, has hatched a plan that is, if I have a baby, he's stuck with me. And thus a family is born. But wait, this is when everything goes to hell and you're now single again. Seeing the kid you were truly tricked into having every other weekend and trying to foster the best relationship imaginable. Eventually it becomes every other weekend and you spend the time with your little guy grinding at work, playing your odds, and everything's coming up millhouse. 15 years pass and you've managed to go from a pizza delivery boy who also bartends a few nights a week to a man who owns 3 very successful businesses as well as other assets. Life is good, another dance partner has come along and shown you the proper moves for a long-lasting duet. This, friends, brings us to the present day as our best mistake in life has turned 17, and you couldn't be more proud of that not-so-little sucker as he has grown into such an incredible youngin'. You couldn't have dreamt of a better relationship or son. Your son now has a brother that is 14 months younger than him. Your old dancing partner hasn't fared so well in such an open capitalist market and is still living in a lower middle-class lifestyle. The shining star of your life has spent every weekend and any night he could after school since he was 12 restoring his first car from just a shell in a junkyard, and it's finally time to head on down to the DMV for tags, title, and a call to dad's insurance. It is the best day of both of your lives as you pull back into the shop so he can bring the fruits of his labor home with him and never ride the bus to school again. But there is a nasty storm on the horizon. Now we're up to our entitled kid and our entitled ex's role in this story. We pull into the driveway. The prodigal son in his dream boat of 1993 Mazda RX-7. The engine quickly preps away as a 2-liter 3-router is running better than Usain Bolt after hearing release at Cheetahs. Dad follows into the driveway of ex's house in his 2005 Mitsubishi Lancer Evo MR. Cars are parked and we walk for the door, play punching each other in the arm as we laugh and chat from pure excitement. As Dad's foot hits the Porsche, the front door bursts open and the entitled kid flies out the door, shoulder checking his brother as he runs toward the shiny red car in the driveway. Our entitled ex of the story, who's the entitled kid and the chosen son's mother, immediately walks out and looks at the 2 cars in the driveway. And you can tell by the look on her face something must smell horrible within the walls of your long-forgotten castle. Dialogue ensues. Our awesome son says, "Mom, remember the car I told you Dad and I have been building forever? It's finally done and we got tags on it. And you don't ever have to worry about driving me anywhere now." My ex looking directly at our humble knight. "Why would you give him this car? Is it nicer than mine? How much did it cost? You better have another one for his brother." "Awesome! When will mine be here?" Whoa, wait, I have one child. He chose this car when he was 11 and we spent almost 2 years finding one to restore. He spent almost all of his free time building this car with his bare hands, while I just helped and guided him. The entitled kid was even invited to come hang out at the shop with his brother anytime if he wanted to, but has never once came. "Can I get a GTR? I really like that silver one from Fast and Furious." His mother says, "You know, I'm still driving the Miata you bought me in 2005. I need a new car too." "Son, give me your keys. You're going to be driving my car while I take the new one." He tells her, "The heck you are." Me and my ex simultaneously say, "Watch your mouth please." "How dare you speak to me that way? Now you'll be driving nothing." "I'll take the Miata." The entitled kid says, "I'll take the Miata until Whip Solo gets my GTR if bro isn't going to be driving it." I say, "My son's car legally belongs to me and is only insured for him or I to drive it. No one will drive his car unless it is him or I. No one, understand?" "Well, you better take me to the local BMW dealer and give me at least a used 4 Series if you think I'm letting your son drive this car." Awesome son finally collecting his thoughts. "Mom, Dad isn't my brother's dad. He's not your husband, and I can't remember a time when he was. That is my car. I built with my own hands." He was tearing up at this point. "And I'll just sell it before Dad buys you a new car." Me, proud, concerned, and all around befuddled from these events. "Son, go pack a bag or two of all of your important stuff. You can drive to school from my house now. It's no big deal." My ex screamed an absolute boatload of insults, curse words, and demands as we got into our cars, and has been texting me non-stop ever since. This happened on Sunday, and the entitled kid showed up at my shop last night and wanted to learn the ropes. I had to inform the entitled kid that I wasn't going to be buying him a car, but if he wanted to learn mechanics, I'd be happy to teach him. And when he did get a car, I am sure both I and his brother would help him do any modifications he'd like to it. And I'd also get him parts at wholesale price, 35 to 50% off typically. The entitled kid immediately screamed, "This is nonsense!" Kicked in the door of a 2015 Mustang we had in for a cam job, denting it all to hell, and running out of my shop. I've sent an officer to formally trespass the entitled kid from my business and filed a police report on my ex to make the phone calls and texts end. I decided to tell the story with a bit of jest, as if I didn't, I'd have dropped an F-bomb every fourth word while typing this. If I'm in some bizarre world where I'm the entitled douche here, feel free to roast me. I will end by saying my ex had seen our son's car about a week after we fished it out of the junkyard, and it literally looked like that, since the first Fast and Furious was a Supra on the back of the tow truck. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.